Hello and welcome to evening poetry request. So I'm Jake. I'm a professional voice actor, and I love classic literature. And so what I like to do is read. I record it, and yeah, if you have a request on TikTok or YouTube, you know, drop it in the chat. And then if you are seeing this later on YouTube, you can still comment, and I love to do that next time, or even say, oh, I haven't recorded that yet for my thing on YouTube. So come on in, and if you like poetry, make a request. And then if no one makes, I just read my favorite poetry. Win-win situation. So let's see. How about Lord Byron? Start off with a little Lord Byron. Let's see. When We Two Parted by Lord Byron. Good evening, Melody. Good to see you. All right. When we two parted in silence and tears, half broken hearted to sever for years, pale grew thy cheek and cold, colder thy kiss. Truly that hour foretold sorrow to this. The dew of the morning sunk chill on my brow. It felt like the warning of what I feel now. Thy vows are all broken, and light is thy frame. I hear thy name spoken, and share in its shame. They name thee before me, a knell to mine ear. A shudder comes o'er me. Why wert thou so dear? They they know not I knew thee, who knew thee too well. Long, long shall I rue thee, too deeply to tell. In secret we met, in silence I grieve, that thy heart could forget, thy spirit deceive. If I should meet thee after long years, how should I greet thee? With silence and tears. Lord Byron, When We Two Parted. She walks in beauty. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes. Thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express how pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. She Walks in Beauty, Lord Byron, an old favorite. Isn't that a good one? I love, that's probably my favorite of his too, at least of the ones that I've read. I haven't read all of his stuff, but I really like that one. Here's another one. Linnea. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What's going on? Yes, we are doing requests. If you think of one, let me know. As always, sometimes I can't find it. It's not 100% rate, but definitely request away. We'll go no more a roving. So we'll go no more a roving, so late into the night, though the heart be still as loving, and the moon be still as bright. For the sword outwears its sheath, and the soul wears out the breast, and the heart must pause to breathe, and love itself have rest. Though the night was made for loving, and the day returns too soon, yet will go no more roving by the light of the moon. Yeats, anything in particular? Oh, whole book of him. I am reading from selected poems of Lord Byron. It was like a quarter at the used bookstore. I live in a university town, so a lot of the times when after school lets out, like everybody goes and sells their books, and so I can get a lot of stuff, especially literary stuff for, excuse me, super cheap. So that's a lot of fun. Okay, let's see. Let's try some Yeats. Here's one I haven't read called The Fisherman, William Butler Yeats. Although I can see him still, the freckled man who goes to a gray place on a hill in gray Connemara clothes at dawn to cast his flies. It's long since I began to call upon the eyes, to call up to the eyes this wise and simple man. All day I'd looked in the face what I'd hoped 'twould be to write for my own race and the reality. The living men that I hate, the dead men that I love, the dead man that I loved, the craven man in his seat, the insolent unreproved, and no knave brought to book who has won a drunken cheer, the witty man and his joke aimed at the commonest ear, the clever man who cries, the catch eyes of the clown, the beating down of the wise and great art beaten down. Maybe a 12-month since, suddenly I began, in scorn of this audience, imagining a man and his sun-freckled face and gray Connemara cloth, climbing up to a place where stone is dark under froth, and the down-turn of his wrist when the flies drop in the stream, a man who does not exist, a man who is but a dream, and cried, "Before I'm old, I shall have written him one poem maybe as cold and passionate as the dawn." That was The Fisherman, William Butler Yeats. Oh, you bet. Great request. John Donne. John Donne. Thanks for the finger hearts. Yeah, those are the kind of places, um, buy, sell, trade, that kind of thing. Those are the kind of places I shop as much as I possibly can. Um, Brandy, you bet. You bet. Um, the that Dylan Thomas one, that one, I don't know. That one's one of those ones that it makes me so sad. I don't really want to read it. So that's why I say sometimes I'll try to read the best I can, but I don't know. That one's heavy, and I don't mind like sad stuff or whatever, but I don't know that one's a little heavy for me personally. What's up, Thomas? Well, I'm not saying it's heavy for you. I'm saying it's heavy for me, just for uh, my own personal experience. Um, no, I have no problem if for someone else, I'm not one of those like gatekeeper, like you shouldn't read whatever. You should read it, but you know, I'm just not going to, and I hope you understand it for personal reasons, which I won't go into. Let's see. The Good Marrow, John Donne. Let's see. I know that one. Um, oh, John Donne. Okay. Okay. The Good Morrow by John Donne. Brandy, if you have a request, I'm just reading different stuff. Um, if you have a request, definitely drop it down and I will definitely consider it. Um, and, like bubonic fuzz. Another one I didn't read the other night was Death of a Ball Turret Gunner right before everybody goes to sleep. That's one I think everybody needs to read. If you value your freedom, as let's say in my case as an American, but whether you're British or whatever, if you value your freedom, you should read it to know about the sacrifice of the people that sacrificed everything so that we could sit here on TikTok in the middle of the night and read our favorite poems. I didn't read that one either. You know what I mean? Because that one's just too heavy for what I'm doing right now. I like to everyone's kind of powering down. I love it too, but it's just, oh man, talk about a buzzkill. Um, anyway, The Good Morrow by John Donne. I wonder by my troth what thou and I did till we loved. Were we not weaned till then, but sucked on country pleasures childishly, or snorted we in the seven sleepers' den? 'Twas so, but this all pleasures fancies be. If ever any beauty I did see, which I desired and got, 'twas but a dream of thee. And now good morrow to our waking souls, which watch not one another out of fear, for love all love of other sights controls, and makes one little room and everywhere. Let sea discoverers to new worlds have gone. Let maps to other worlds on worlds have shown. Let us possess one world, each hath one and is one. My face in thine eye, thine in mine appears, and true plain hearts do in the faces rest, where we can find two better hemispheres. Where can we find two better hemispheres without sharp north, without declining west? Whatever dies, excuse me, whatever dies was not mixed equally. If our two loves be one, or thou and I love so alike that none do slacken, none can die. Uh, the Good Morrow, John Donne. You bet, Joe. Rimbo? Is that how am I saying? Am I saying that right? Am I saying it wrong? I don't think so. I don't think I'm familiar. Rimbo. Okay. So no, I haven't. But what are you? Do you have a title? A certain, like a title? Thank you, Melody. Appreciate that. Robert, what's going on, brother? Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things I like about reading is I get introduced to not only new poems that I've never read, but also new artists, new poets, new writers that maybe I've either not read or never even heard of in some cases. Somebody mentioned somebody the other day that I hadn't never even heard the name, and it was absolutely beautiful. Um, okay, let's see. Larry. Right. All right. All right. The Drunken Boat. We got a Nicholas. Let's see. This is a pretty long one. Okay. As I was going down impassive rivers, I no longer felt myself guided by haulers. Yelping redskins had taken them as targets and had nailed them naked to colored stakes. I was indifferent to all crews, the bearer of Flemish wheat or English cottons. When my hauler, this uproar stopped. The rivers let me go where I wanted. Into the furious lashing of the tides, more heedless than children's brains, the other winter I ran, and loosened peninsulas have not undergone a more triumphant hubbub. The storm blessed my sea vigils, lighter than a cork. I danced on the waves that are called eternal rollers of victims, 10 nights without missing the stupid eye of the lighthouses. Yeah, this one's pretty long. Yeah, there's four stanzas of The Drunken Boat. Uh, Larry, I appreciate that. Where, in Mississippi are you? Yeah, Nicholas, thanks for the introduction. I've never read that one. So this is translated. I'm assuming it was written in French originally. All right, William Carlos Williams. Uh, Meridian, okay. I'm probably a little over an hour north of Meridian. Uh, Currently living very cool. I really like upstate New York. I think that is a gorgeous part of the country. Okay, here is uh, William Carlos Williams and um, Autumn. A stand of people by an open grave underneath the heavy leaves celebrates the cut and fill for the new road where an old man on his knees reaps a basketful of matted grasses for his goats. Here's Blizzard, also William Carlos Williams. Snow. Years of anger following hours that float idly down. The blizzard drifts its weight deeper and deeper for 3 days or 60 years, eh? Then the sun, a clatter of yellow and blue flakes. Hairy looking trees stand out in long alleys over a wild solitude. The man turns, and there, his solitary track stretched out upon the world. Thank you, Jill. I'm really glad. I'm glad that you do. And I enjoy your suggestions. That was great. I don't think I have a copy of Rimbaud around. I get, lots of stuff, I have it laying all around and, all over the place, but I don't think that I have a copy personally. I just did. Oh, look at this. Oh, I got to show you this. Local bookstore. Ah. Isn't this beautiful? Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass, baby. I appreciate that, Larry. I definitely try to keep it alive as far as the old Southern accent from time to time, even though most of the voice work I do, they don't want a Southern accent. They just want no accent. But I really like Southern stuff. And speaking of Southern stuff, if you haven't, if you like Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen, I'm actually recording that as an audiobook on YouTube. So I'm recording lives, like YouTube lives, a chapter at a time, and recording it. And then I'm going to edit it and post it as an MP3 audiobook as well. And maybe put it on Audible too. But anyway, if you like Southern accent and whatever, I'm about to get to where Mr. Collins shows up, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, who's Mr. Collins? Because a lot of people have mentioned, I can't wait to hear Mr. Collins. And so I really want that to be a memorable character because he's such a great character. There's so many good characters in Pride and Prejudice, but Collins, I don't know. So if anybody has what do you call it? Suggestion on who Mr. Collins should be like cast as, who I should be thinking of as I try and I'm not an impressionist, but you know what I mean, like a sort of be thinking of some character. Right. He he really is like an awful, wonderful character. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, that's what I've heard, Larry. I would definitely agree. I would think that for sure. How about a little Walt Whitman? I was sitting in the coffee shop yesterday. There's a local bookstore called Friendly City Books, and like I'll get a book and then go across the street to this coffee shop and I'll read whatever book I got. So that's always fun. I did that yesterday and had fun. The little brother you have to take. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So inspiration to the voice is you know any suggestions? I'm all ears for what Mr. Collins, Pride and Prejudice, needs to sound like. What a superbly featured room and what excellent boiled potatoes. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of ways that could go. Uh, let's see. Here is Night on the Prairies. Yes, Christina. I think he does need to be a gentleman because he's educated, he's a clergyman, that kind of thing. But also, there has to be some comedy there, and comedy that comes from not just his what he's saying, because that's pretty funny too a lot of the time. But, I don't know. I don't know. Well, he's a funny character. I think he's written funny, so he needs to be funny to the listener, and if he's I wouldn't want him to be so cool that it's like, "Oh, he's actually kinda cool." That's not the point. It needs to be, "Ha, ha, ha, Mr. Collins is hilarious." Anyway, Night on the Prairies from Leaves of Grass, Walt Whitman. Night on the prairies. The supper is over. The fire on the ground burns low. The wearied immigrants sleep, wrapped in their blankets. I walk by myself and stand and look at the stars, which I think now I never realized before. Now I absorb immortality and peace. I admire death and test propositions. How plenteous, how spiritual, how resume. The same old man and soul, the same old aspirations, and the same content. I was thinking the day most splendid till I saw what the not day exhibited. I was thinking this globe enough till there sprang out so noiseless around me myriads of other globes. Now while the great thoughts of space and eternity fill me, I will measure myself by them. And now touched with the lives of other globes, arrived as far along as those of the earth, or waiting to arrive, or passed on farther than those of the earth, I henceforth no more ignore them than I ignore my own life, or the lives of the earth arrived as far as mine, or waiting to arrive. Oh, I see now that life cannot exhibit all to me, as the day cannot. I see that I am to wait for what will be exhibited by death. Night on the Prairies, Walt Whitman. Okay, let's see. I want something attic library so bad. An attic. Oh, that would be awesome. Me too. That's awesome. Um, you'd be great at reading Tennessee Williams. You know, I was born in the same town as Tennessee Williams uh, grew up in. His house is about 10 miles from the house he grew up in is about 10 miles from the house that where I live now, which is pretty cool. Actually, yes. Um, I have I'm actually going to this thing. This is an event in in my town near the near his home. The Eccentricities of a Nightingale by Tennessee Williams at the local arts council, and they're doing a thing on the works of Tennessee Williams. I'm going to that tomorrow night, hopefully. The the director gave me a free ticket, so I'm like, I'm going. And from Columbus, Mississippi. Originally, I live now in Starkville now, but yes, Columbus, Mississippi, exactly. Uh, but yeah, I don't know if he wrote poetry. I'm sure that he did. I know wrote a lot of short stories and stuff, but I haven't come across any poems. But I also haven't really explored his work, and I should because we're from the same town. You know, he's home folks, and so I'll have to get back to you on that. Uh, Warm, comforting blanket, or I love that, Larry. That's a great compliment, and thank you. The because I certainly, you know, that's how I think about everybody, and I would hope that they feel that way. Good night, Brandy. Thanks for swinging by. Um, Mr. Collins in the voice of Foghorn Leghorn. I think that's a great idea. Here's my problem with that. No, I don't. It's not a problem. But Foghorn Leghorn is very boisterous. He's very outspoken. I mean, hey, I say, boy, why don't you come over here? Like he's real loud. Mr. Collins, I don't. He's not. He's more like a mouse than a lion. You know what I mean? He's very. Um, I thought Tom Hollander, I think his name is. I get him, Tom Holland, and Tom Hollander mixed up, but I think it's Tom Hollander. Was brilliant, isn't as far as he was so deliciously awkward, and he was kind of like he hovered like bad news, and he was just great. Um, anyway, but I would definitely play around with that. I definitely could. It might be one of those things where it's like, you know what, Mr. Holland, we think of Mr. Collins as sort of quiet and awkward, but I don't know, maybe sometimes that's what makes a great character is when they're Foghorn Leghorn, you know what I mean? So I'll play around with that. I'll see how we feel. I can't wait to hear about the seminar. Yeah, thank you. I'm really looking forward to it. See if I miss anybody's comment. It is not intentionally. I really like. Um, oh, I'd love to hear your narration of Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. Hey, Jackie. I actually have done an excerpt, 2 or 3 minute excerpt from To Kill a Mockingbird. It might be in here. I'm not sure. It's still copyrighted, so I can't um like, reproduce it as an audiobook, unfortunately. Him and a lot of or her, a lot of uh, To Kill a Mockingbird. Flannery O'Connor is still copyrighted. Um, a lot of Tennessee Williams is still copyrighted. A lot of the, Southern and Southern Gothic type of writing is still copyrighted. So, that's unfortunate, but I do little clips on here. Um, Elizabeth, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, if you like, soothing, sleepy stuff, definitely check out my YouTube, my podcast. I have my sleep podcast on there. I've got Ode to a Mockingbird. I've got the Cultured Bumpkin on there. I've got links to, the podcasts, tons of stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one, Little Orphan Annie. Let me see if I can find that one. Let's see. Hauntingly Beautiful. What That's a broad statement. I know what I think is hauntingly beautiful. What do you think is hauntingly beautiful, Christina? Do you have any ideas? Okay, Little Orphan Annie. Okay. Well, Because I Could Not Stop for Death is one of my favorites of hers that fits that. V Velveteen Rabbit. I don't know. I don't know if that's still copyrighted, copywritten. Um, I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to check on that. Okay. So we'll do Little Orphan Annie, and then we'll do um Because I Could Not Stop for Death, and then maybe some Edgar Allan Poe, if we're feeling frisky. All right, Little Orphan Annie. by James Whitcomb Riley. Little orphan Annies come to our house to stay and wash the cups and saucers up and brush the crumbs away and shoo the chickens off the porch and dust the hearth and sweep and make the fire and bake the bread and earn her board and keep. And all us other children, when the supper things is done, we set around the kitchen fire and has the mostest fun and listening to the witch tales that Annie tells about, and the goblins'll get you if you don't watch out. Once there was a little boy, wouldn't say his prayers, so he went to bed at night, away upstairs. His mammy heard him holler, and his daddy heard him bawl, and when they turned the covers down, he wasn't there at all. And they seeked him in the rafter room, and cubby hole, and press, and seeked him in the chimbley flue, and everywheres, I guess, but all they ever found was this his pants and roundabout, and the goblins'll get you if you don't watch out. And one time all a little girl at allus this is written in dialect if you can't tell. I'm not making this up. This is spelled out where it's like deciphering a code. And one time a little girl would allus laugh and grin and make fun of everyone and all her blood and kin. And once, when they was company and old folks was there, she mocked 'em and shocked 'em and said she didn't care. And this as she kicked her heels and turned to run and hide, there was two great big black things a standing by her side, and they snatched her through the ceiling 'fore she knowed what she's about. And the goblins'll get you if you don't watch out. And little orphan Annie says when the blaze is blue and the lampwick sputters and the wind goes woo and you hear the crickets quit and the moon is gray and the lightning bugs and dew is all quenched away, you better mind your parents and your teachers fond and dear, and cherish 'em that loves you, and dry the orphan's tear, and help the poor and needy ones that clusters all about, ere the goblins'll get you if you don't watch out. The Little Orphan Annie, James Whitcomb Riley. All right. Because I could not stop for death. All right. By Emily Dickinson. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun, or rather, he passed us. The dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamer my gown, my tippet, only tulle. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. It wasn't that good. I hadn't heard that one until kind of recently. Little orphan Annie. It's funny. Uh, do you read any Eudora? Well, I just got her book, uh, the the Optimist Daughter. Is that right? The Optimist Daughter. I haven't read it yet, but I just bought it from a bookstore in Columbus. You, m- you met her. That's amazing. Like that's so cool. That's super cool. Ashley, you are very welcome. Glad you enjoyed it. My favorite poem, I think, is "Ode to a Nightingale" by John Keats. That's probably my favorite. One of my That's hard to say, but that's one of my favorites for, kinda like personal reasons. Like, just, I don't know, some of the things he says and describes, you know, like I've felt that before, and I've felt that, and he expresses what I felt in much, more, lovely terms than I could. Uh, Elder Ken, hello. No, I have not read, any of the old, Conan stories. Christina, good deal. I'm glad. That's a great one. I love that one. Okay, let's see. Edgar Allan Poe. I think, Annabelle Lee is just so beautiful, and that's kinda short. Um, yeah, I really like it. Just, I think it's written while he's dying, and I've never been dying, thankfully, but, uh, I don't know, some of the things he says, I've sort of uh, felt that before. Sabella, what's going on? Yeah, I'm going to a Tennessee Williams, performance tomorrow of a play, um, and I'm kind of excited about that. So I'll definitely be, oh, thank you. I will definitely be reading some of his stuff. Now his stuff's still copyrighted, so I can't, you know, like, read a play and post it or anything, but I can do little bits, I'm sure. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. And I'm trying to find some poetry of his, which I'm sure that he's written some, I just haven't come across it. Auden, that's a good one. I think a lot of Auden's stuff is public domain. Um, okay, let's read Annabelle Lee, and then we'll read some Auden. Uh, I met her at, Eudora Welty at George Street Market with a girl I was dating from Columbus. That's so cool. That's awesome. Okay, that's really cool. And then obviously, I mean, it doesn't matter if they're copyrighted if the rights holder would, you know, give permission. And a lot of times that could be like, could I read this, read some poems and link a publication, a book or something, or, in the show notes. Okay, so, Christina, Edgar Allan Poe, this is for you. Annabelle Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who are older than we, of many far wiser than we. and neither the angels in heaven above or the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. Beautiful. Quoting him. Oh, that's really cool. How much did you quote of his? And I don't know how that works. Like, if you do like 3 words, is that? I mean, how much is considered a quote that you have to get permission from? Because I've wondered about that. Christina, I was challenged to write an ode to a person, place, or thing, and made it a love note to the broken. Okay, okay, very nice. Thank you, Melody. I appreciate that. Several verse. Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. Uh, he really, he really is. I think Poe kind of helped me get into classic literature as well. Oh, wasn't that beautiful? Yeah, I mean, it's about his wife dying, so it's definitely, even without knowing that, it's a tearjerker, but it really came from a lot of, he had a lot of sorrow apparently, like um, Ulaloom and to Annie and the Raven. Like there's a lot of loss that comes in his poetry. Bama, yeah, I love Poe too. Face on the barroom floor. I don't know that one. Do you know who wrote that? On September 1st. Yeah. I don't know if I've read that one. First. Mm. The Christina, go for it. I know you're going to hit it out of the park. Also, read, if you haven't, check out some of John Keats stuff. He has a lot of odes. Ode to a Grecian urn, ode to a nightingale, ode to all kind of. He has a lot of odes that might give you some ideas. Poe is abandoned as a child and raised by people. Interesting. I would love to visit that. I think that would be great. I like going to battlefields, but I haven't been to too many authors' houses. I've been to Tennessee Williams' house, and I've been to um, um what do you call it? William Faulkner's house. But I've not been to like Mark Twain, Poe, and there's several other ones that I'd love to check out. Public domain. Well, if I'm gonna like record it and put it on YouTube full length or put it on Audible, because I have a Poe collection that I recorded and put on Audible. It's like got some short stories and poems of Poe and some other stuff too. I've got a list of like American short stories on Audible. So all those need to be public domain, obviously. But just for reading, it's not necessarily. It's only if I'm going to obviously reproduce it in a digital form or whatever. Uh, let's see. I got some right here. War poets, World War I British poets. So this is um, Rupert Brooke, Charles Hamilton Sorley, Edward Thomas, Siegfried Sassoon, Thomas Hardy, Wilfred Owen, Isaac Rosenberg, John McCrae, who is Canadian but British Army, so to speak. A.E. Housman, Rudyard Kipling. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Christina, that's a great one. So beautiful. I'm glad that now that you have heard it. Let's see if I can. I'll look it up. I don't know if I can find it. I knew an old fella. He just passed away, but he knew Lieutenant Meehan. And he was with Dick Winters all the way up to the Eagle's Nest. Yeah, I don't know. For anybody that doesn't know, Lieutenant Meehan was a U.S. Army paratrooper, and he was killed on the night of D-Day in the early hours of June 6, 1944. Oops. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find. I mean, I'm pulling some stuff about him, but I can't find that. But yeah, he was killed. Definitely somebody to remember. Bama. I know you asked this a few minutes ago, but I've got Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass. I just got that yesterday. So beautiful. I'm so proud of this. Another thing that I love about it, it's paperback, but it's the kind of paperback that stays open. It's like really high quality paperback. And then this melody, this was World War I British poets. So it's just a lot of different poets. Some are like super patriotic, and they're real pro-war kind of, and then other guys like Wilfred Owen are not pro-war. So it's a good mix of all that. And then this is the dimensions of poetry, which I really like. This is, it has a lot of, here's a literary device, and then it'll give you several poems of, different poets that use that thing, whatever it might be, and then it just sort of works its way. I think the latest is Dylan Thomas, and the earliest is, 'cause it's probably a book from the maybe 60s. And then you have, um, I don't know, Christopher Marlowe or something. I'm not sure exactly who the earliest is. Anyway, so that's a good one. But yeah, I have books kind of all around me. Christina, you've been to Mark Twain's. Lucky. I definitely want to go. If it's non-public domain, so you pay like, I'm not sure of your question. I haven't ever gotten permission to do a like it's something that's still copyrighted. So I haven't ever like paid for that. All of my stuff is um all open domain. Poe attended University of Virginia till his foster father Alan refused to pay his bills. It left Poe bitter. Interesting. He ended up at West Point, I think, for like 1 year before I think he got kicked out for drinking or something. I have a lot of friends that went to West Point. Can you read a favorite poem? Well, it's kind of long. Ode to a Nightingale. That's my favorite, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's a little bit long. Um, written 3 more. I mean, you are a poem machine, Christina. World War One poetry is crushing. That they really are, and that was one of the first times that I think that or that I've seen. I mean, I'm sure it's happened through the ages, but when a poet was like, "Hey guys, we're fighting an enemy that we don't even hate because like some rich guys, they're trying to this is what's going on here, you know what I mean? They were questioning the war and the motives of it because it's sold to the public as, fight for king and country and all this stuff. Then when you get down to it, it's like, what are we doing? And the majority of wars are like that. Not all wars. Aerospace, Jakey Poo. That's a good name for a army buddy right there. Jakey Poo. Thank you. I'll take it. How are you, buddy? If it was a dark and cold and stormy night in a patrol base, I would definitely snuggle you, and we would stay so warm. Let's see. Yeah, Eris Patty's an old Army paratrooper. Mariah. Robert Burns. Oh, great. Great choice. Actually, I have a little Robert Burns poems and songs right here. A lot of his stuff is written in, dialect, so it's hard for me to decipher as well. But good, I'm glad you're doing well. Um, Christina, great. I appreciate that. And that, like, for real, that's wonderful. Um, and because I have done that. Like if I know a poet or an author personally, um, in fact, one author on who is I'm right now, I have a TikTok live, but I'm recording it on my YouTube. So some people get on YouTube, and there's an author friend of mine named Sabella, who that's exactly what she did with one of the books that she wrote. She and her husband, and so what I did was like for one chapter, I put it up. It's a history book about the American Revolution. So one chapter I put on my YouTube and then posted their link to the book in it, that kind of thing. Um, Let's see. Today you bought T.S. Eliot's Wasteland very cool. Was it a brand new book or was it, like a used book? I'm always interested in that. I'm so thankful that you do because I love, the books. I mean, I love your writing, you and Joe's writing, and I've learned a lot, filled in a lot of details, that kinda thing. Larry, I would love to do that. I would absolutely love to. My DM, I have my DM, open, so it's like you could send me a message. If you would send me your contact information, I would love that. 'Cause, yeah, I'm out in the country, but we could meet in, um, Starkville, no problem. Okay, my love is like a red, red rose. You got it. That's a that is one of the great to me, one of the great love poems. I love this one. Some love poems are wonderful for their, like, majesty, and this one, they're wonderful because it's so simple. I can't find it here. I might just have I kn oh, no, there it is. And thank you, Melody, I really appreciate that. Okay, A Red, Red Rose by Robert Burns. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh, my love is like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. As fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my dear, till all the sea's gone dry. Till all the sea's gone dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun, and I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. And fare thee well, my only love, and fare thee well a while, and I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 mile. That's so good. Like, I think everybody deep down, they want, um, a they want to be loved like that by somebody. You know what I mean? Used library bookstore, $5. No, you can't. You can't pass it up. You definitely can't. Uh, um, Melody, it's actually a whole set of books, and it's called Great Battles for Boys, and then it's like it goes into, American Revolution. There's, World War II in the Pacific, World War II in Europe, Vietnam War, ancient, battles from antiquity, the Civil War, World War One. There's there's a whole stack of them, and they're great. Like they're geared for kids, but they're as I was narrating them, I think I did 4 of them. Yeah, I did, 4 of them from that series, and I learned a lot. Even though I read a ton of history, I still learned a lot. It was great. I wrote a super short love poem in Spanish. That's fantastic. The, challenge to write on the 5 cents. Okay, that's phenomenal. Let's see, I don't know if I'm working back up, um, uh, through the comments here. Christina, when you publish it, what we ought to do, I'll do like on YouTube or something. I'll read it, and then we could it could be on YouTube, but then in the in the description will be where a person could get the whole book. You know what I mean? So that would be pretty sweet. And my YouTube channel is not very big right now, but it's been growing pretty quick the last few weeks since I've actually been posting a lot of my work that I've done. I've been putting a lot of short stories and all that kind of stuff on there. We'll definitely have to hear it. Yeah, I think, melody one of the best ways that I learn about any subject, and I've always been like this, is if I am trying to learn about a subject that I don't know anything about, and I don't even know what questions to ask, I don't not have any of my bearings, I will go and get, like a kid's book or a kid's website or a kid's animation on YouTube and you're like, "What in the world are we even talking about?" And then sort of, tell it to me like I'm 5. And then once I sort of understand, at least have the gist of what's going on, then I've got the framework to ask more, questions that allow me to build upon that. But yeah, I have no shame in reading kids' books to learn stuff. Like I gotta learn and I'll read a kid's book. Larry, great, great. Let's definitely connect. I would really like that. It'd be a lot of fun. When's the last time you were in Starkville? Exactly. Like, Sabella, I think like if someone were to read uh the American Revolution from the Great Battles for Boys series that you and Joe wrote, if if they did that, well, then they could read The Road to Guilford Courthouse by John Buchanan. They could read Savannah to Yorktown. They could read, like all these other. There was one written in the 50s called Rebels and Redcoats, and I forget the name of it, but it was phenomenal, a phenomenal overview. And then, that really, um, I don't know, it's just really helpful. It builds that skeleton, that framework for you to, you know, um, learn, build upon. 3 or 4 years. Okay, okay. Well, that's not too bad. I know when I went to, I left town and after college, sort of went into the army and moved around, came back a few years later, and I hardly um, recognized the place. Went to Ole Miss. Okay, cool. My dad went to Delta State, and my mom went to Mississippi State, where my dad was. He came over as a graduate assistant strength and conditioning coach, and that's where they met. So Mississippi State is kind of, you know, my in my blood or whatever. And then when I was in Iraq, I had just gotten there, and I was kind of, I was homesick, and I'd never been that far from home, and all this kind of stuff, and I was on this base in Tikrit, Iraq, and I just walked across the soccer field where the Hussein boys shot the national team after they got back from a bad outing. They just like executed the Iraqi national team on this soccer field. I'd walked across that field and was going to eat, and I was really sad because I was, it's a sad place, and I was homesick, and I looked over, and there was a National Guard headquarters, and the little Colonel Reb was leaning on his cane right outside, and I've never. Like I kind of grew up. I'm a bulldog. I don't like the rebels, but I have liked the rebels ever since that moment when I was like, as long as it's not the Egg Bowl, I got no problem with the rebels. Like that made me feel close to home for a quick moment of time. And yeah, so Colonel Reb is nostalgic to me in that way. Um, the right, the writings of the founders and um, I've recorded the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and some Thomas Paine. I think the American Crisis Part 1, and then I think yeah, anyway. So I've done a lot of that. But yeah, that your book would be a great gateway into that stuff. Um, how did you find about your voice? Well, the I can send you the links. I don't know if you like if it would be easier to embed it or however that would work, but I can definitely send you the links. And if that doesn't work, I could send you the um just MP3s. I mean, I would prefer the embedding, that way the website or the YouTube gets traffic, but that's okay if not. We'll make it work either way. I want people listening to that. Um, when I was in, um, I think I was working in summer camp, and there were 2, girls from up north, and they thought that my southern accent, and I had a very thick southern accent. Um, they were like, "If anything bad happens while we're here and we get, like, um, a a sad message from home, we want you to deliver the bad news because it won't be as sad if you tell us." Like, I was like, "What?" Never heard such a thing, but I see what they're saying, like, it's kind of like, your voice is calming or whatever, and I think that was the first time that I ever sort of heard that from anybody. Well, within a couple years, I was a commissioned officer in the Army, and I was in Fort Riley, Kansas, the one of the I mean, so much history at Fort Riley with, you know, what do you call it? The cavalry and the Indian Wars and all that kind of stuff. Bloody Kansas, back before the Civil War, and the my platoon sergeant, who's from Montana, pulled me aside one day and said, "We can't understand anything you're saying because you have a thick Southern accent, and when we get over to Iraq and we're trying to, you know, talk on the radio, and somebody's going to get hurt if they can't understand you." And I was like, "Dad gum, I didn't realize that." So I from that moment on, that was probably 2000, early 2008, I was told that. So I started trying to enunciate better. And not that I'm ashamed of my Southern accent, of course, but I do wanna if I'm on the radio, I don't want the guy from New Hampshire saying, "What? What did he say?" I mean, because you truly can, you know, get hurt if you can't understand a command or whatever. And then soon after that, I went to like some plays, and I heard an audiobook by Kenneth Branagh, excuse me, the magician's nephew from C.S. Lewis, Chronicles of Narnia. And I sort of fell in love with the idea. And so that's when that was 2008, I guess. And I sort of was thinking about it ever since. And I didn't do much about it till, some years later. But yeah, about 2000, I don't know, 13 or 14 is when I started saying, you know what, I want to be a voice actor. So I'm going to start practicing. Sabella, good deal. Well, I will email you those links for sure. That'd be great. Um, Justin, you bet, man. I lost my dad to cancer as well, and that was tough. Y'all, Justin asked for prayer, and I'm a praying man, and so I'm gonna pray for him real quick. And if you're not a praying person, please just excuse us for a moment. But I would like to pray with Justin here. Lord, Justin lost his dad. You know all about that, and I pray you just be with him and comfort his heart and the heart of his family, whoever his dad touched in his life. And Lord, I just commit Justin to you. Please just make yourself real to him, help him to be uh, just just be there for him, Lord. I know what that's like. Uh, I don't know exactly how it feels, but I kind of know how it feels. I lost my dad to cancer, and you were there for me when I needed you most. And I pray you'd do the same with Justin. In Jesus' name, amen. What part of Kansas you in, Christina? I love Kansas. Amen. Oh, Brandy's back. Nice. Montana, look at there. Look at that hat. You've already spoken about Senator Tuberville's dismissal. No, I don't think I have spoken about that. I didn't. I mean, I know who Senator uh, Tuberville is, but I don't know about what you're talking about. Uh, Brandy wants to be put to sleep. Okay, let's see. Let's think of a. You know what? Someone asked for my favorite poem earlier. Was that you, Brandy? Because I mean, that is to me that is the quintessential put you to sleep poem. Um, Bama, thanks for swinging by. I really appreciate that. The well, Eris Patty, I love you, brother, and you can hail Satan all you want to, but my God's a lot bigger than Satan, and he's gonna kick his ass one of these days. Satan is very real, but he's also uh, he's the bad guy. Let's see. Yeah, send me some stuff, Christina. My email address is jakephillips116 at Gmail. So it's my TikTok name and then at Gmail. So yeah, send me links. And also, yes, any of your poet friends, send them my YouTube or my podcast and tell them like, hey, this guy really likes original poetry. He like, I love connecting with uh, poets, especially ones that, they like the classics like I do, yada yada yada. Uh, Overland Park, I know that area very well. I have a lot of friends from Overland Park. That's a great area. One Thanksgiving I was at in what do you call it? Fort Riley. So this would have been 2008, and I couldn't make it home. And there was a family in Stillwell that they have people come over from the displaced people that can't make it home for the holidays. So there's great family in Stillwell, a little south of where you are. And so anyway, that was one of the times. But I've been in Overland Park a lot, and I have a lot of friends from there actually. Beautiful area. Romeo, what's up, brother? How's medical school? Two, uh, 2 hours from. Oh, Brandy, you're 2 hours from Overland Park. Is that what you're saying? Because I was 2 hours from Overland Park, right down I-70 on. I was in Manhattan. Is it on your podcast? Maybe. What is what on my podcast? It's not worth your 2 cents, Mr. Jake. I don't know. It might be. Christina. Great, great. Yeah. The definitely I like connecting. I like connecting with other writers and stuff. I'll buy you lunch next time you make it. Done. Done. Okay, so, um, let's see. Well, the thing is, I think if I said it and then I saw your comment, I'm sure it would make perfect sense. My problem is I'll get to talking and rambling and chasing rabbits, and then I might reply to 2 or 3 comments, and then when you answered something that you probably answered immediately to something I said, and then, like, 5 minutes later, I'm like, "What are you talking about, Brandy? What do you mean?" It's totally my fault. Um, um, Peaceful Magazine celebrating the beat. The beat? What is the beat? Hey, if it's in a magazine, you know, that's that's literature, baby. Uh, let's see what. Okay, Brandy needs to go to sleep. Okay, what's a good uh, poem to go to sleep? I like Longfellow's "The Day Is Done." It's one of my favorites. Interesting, interesting. I'm not familiar. Uh, that's fantastic. That's not, I mean, that's not something that I would think is funny. Like, that's amazing. That's great. Brandy, I sing a little. I don't like singing in front of people yet. So every once in a while I will, but I'm not my confidence is not where I can just sort of, know what song I'm trying to sing and then hit the key it should be in and stuff. Because a lot of the stuff that I sing, it's, you know, a lot of songs are written for, tenors and whatnot, so I'm not a tenor. And so I gotta set it a little lower or else I'm just gonna, like, hit the ceiling and then it'll be awful. But yes, I do sing a little bit. Jack Kerouac and William Burroughs? Interesting. Okay, Brandy, here's what you need to do if you're on Spotify. Go to Ode to a Mockingbird. That is my sleep podcast. I think I've only done 11 episodes, but they're all about 20 to 30 minutes. And what it is, I will take a a let's say John Keats, and I will read John Keats poetry for 20 minutes. Okay, you listen to it. Okay, sweet. Way ahead of me. Um, let's see. Let's see. What would be a good song on Spotify to play to go to sleep to? Um, I have to think. I have to think. No, I have not read or recorded 4 quartets. I've recorded. I think the only 2 things I've done of his are The Hollow Men and the Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Okay, here's some sleepy time, Longfellow. The day is done. The day is done, and darkness falls from the wings of night. as a feather is wafted downward from an eagle in his flight. I see the lights of the village gleam through the rain and the mist, and a feeling of sadness comes o'er me that my soul cannot resist. A feeling of sadness and longing that is not akin to pain, and resembles sorrow only as the mist resembles the rain. Come, read to me some poem, some simple and heartfelt lay that shall soothe this restless feeling and banish the thoughts of day. Not from the old masters, not from the bard sublime, whose distant footsteps echo through the corridors of time, for like strains of marital music, their mighty thoughts suggest life's endless toil and endeavor, and tonight I long for rest. Read from some humbler poet, whose songs gushed from his heart, as showers from the clouds of summer, or tears from the eyelids start, who through long days of labor and nights devoid of ease, still heard in his soul the music of wonderful melodies. Such songs have power to quiet the restless pulse of care, and come like the benediction that follows after prayer. Then read from the treasured volume the poem of thy choice, and lend to the rhyme of the poet the beauty of thy voice. And the night shall be filled with music, and the cares that infest the day shall fold their tents like the Arabs, and as silently steal away. Half the soundtrack to "Oh Brother Where Art Thou" puts me. Oh, the the Allison. When I went down to the river to pray, is that one it? That one, and then "Go to Sleep, You Little Baby." Anything with Alison Krauss in it is amazing. That's a great soundtrack. That's so good. I'm simultaneously reading 11 books right now, and none of them are working. I think you should cut that down to 3 or 4. The, um the love song is a little bit that's a little too long for this one. It's a pretty long one. But I have recorded it on, YouTube and my podcast, so it's, like, on Apple or Spotify or, wherever you get your podcast. But if you just search "The Cultured Bumpkin Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock," you would find it. Beautifully read. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Gina K, you bet. Brandy, that was, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, "The Day Is Done." Totally agree. Please indulge us. Gina, what are you, which comment were you replying to? I'm, um, Brandy, I'm very much that way as far as, when I'm in the mood for something. Like sometimes I'll when I come to record, be like, what am I in the mood for? I want to do a love poem. I'm feeling amorous, or like, I want to read Jack London, just man against nature, just like grit and visceral, or I'm moody. I'm very moody when it comes to the arts, I suppose. Um, well, I don't have any. Oh, brother, where art thou? I think. Um, who said that? Who said that? Lauren said that she was listening to the soundtrack. I'm sure you could go on to like Spotify or YouTube or something, type that in and get some great um, yawn-inducing tunes. Oh yeah, using our thumbs on the iPhone. It's a matter of time before we say something we don't mean. You know what I mean? No worries on the spelling. I am the worst about that kind of thing. The Yeah, you on YouTube you can also go to something like um whatever different colored noises you want to listen to, or like a sleep um frequency. So it's not necessarily music, but it's just these different tones, and it's like it's very pleasing to your insides. It sort of um it helps you relax. It's like your brain relaxes. All right, let's see. A clear midnight. Oh, I got too excited seeing him live streaming and mentioning. Oh, what is OBWAT? What is that? Yeah, I think of my brain as having bees in it. A lot of times the bees get annoyed and start buzzing around in there, and I need for them to hush. Okay, A Clear Midnight by Walt Whitman. This is thy hour, O soul, thy free flight into the wordless, away from books, away from art, the day erased, the lesson done, thee fully forth emerging, silent, gazing, pondering the themes thou lovest best, night, sleep, death, and the stars. A Clear Midnight. That's good. Oh, okay, gotcha. I'm I'm not any good at acronyms, and I was in the Army, and that's all they do is acronyms in the Army. I think I got burnt out on them, so when I see one, I just punt, and I'm just like, I don't know what it means. Um, let's see. Um, I saw one in here, the Leaves of Grass, that I just loved, and now I can't find it, and I don't even remember the name. Here's one. This is not it, but it's great. Oh, living always, always dying. Oh, living always, always dying. Oh, the burials of me, past and present. Oh, me while I stride ahead, material, visible, impervious as ever. Oh, me, what I was for years, now dead. I lament not, I am content. Oh, to disengage myself from those corpses of me, which I turn and look at where I cast them, to pass on. Oh, living, always living, and leave the corpses behind. It's Walt Whitman. I have a fan right next to me. Yeah, a little sound machine. Yeah, that's a fan is a great sound machine. Yeah, well, you just I think you're doing the right thing. I think you're in the right area. A lot of times people turn on the TV and just sort of, you know, power down and turn their brain off, whereas I think you're doing it the right way. Poetry, something intentionally soothing. I think that's good. Here is one. Thank you, Gina. Um, here is from Leaves of Grass. As the time draws nigh, Walt Whitman. As the time draws nigh, glooming a cloud, a dread beyond of I know not what darkens me, I shall go forth. I shall traverse the states a while, but I cannot tell whither or how long. Perhaps soon, some day or nights, while I am singing, my voice will suddenly cease. O book, O chance, must all then amount to but this? Must we barely arrive at this beginning of us? And yet it is enough, O soul. O soul, we have positively appeared. That is enough. I can't um uh what do you call it? Click um links, but I know that poem you're talking about. I'll just look it up. Yeah, Christina, wasn't that great? I really am getting into Whitman lately. No, I found it. I'm pretty sure it's the same one. Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod by Eugene Field. I was just saying I couldn't click it, but give me a second and I could Google it. And then let's see, Justine Neruda Night on the Island. Okay, let's do this one and then we can get back to Neruda. Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod by Eugene Field. Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod one night sailed off in a wooden shoe, sailed on a river of crystal light into a sea of dew. Where are you going, and what do you wish? The old moon asked of the three. We have come to fish for the herring fish that live in this beautiful sea. Nets of silver and gold have we, said Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. The old moon laughed and sang a song, and they rocked in the wooden shoe, and the wind that sped them all night long ruffled the waves of dew. The little stars were the herring fish that lived in that beautiful sea. Now cast your nets wherever you wish, never afeard are we. So cried the stars to the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. All night long their nets they threw to the stars in the twinkling foam. Then down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing the fishermen home. 'Twas all so pretty a sail it seemed, as if it could not be, and some folks thought 'twas a dream that they dreamed of sailing that beautiful sea. But I shall name you the three fishermen. But I shall name you the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. Winkin' and Blinkin' are two little eyes, and Nod is a little head, and the wooden shoe that sailed the skies is a wee one's trundle bed. So shut your eyes while mother sings of wonderful sights that be, and you shall see the beautiful things as you rock in the misty sea, where the old shoe rocked the fishermen three, winkin', blinkin', and nod. Great one. I remember my dad reading me that when I was a little kid. I remember actually him reading that poem and then being like, "Hey, what's a trundle bed?" Like that was what I got out of that. I don't know what a trundle bed is. What is that? He explained what a trundle bed was. It's a little bed you slide under the other bed. And I have known what a trundle bed was ever since. I was very blessed to have a wonderful, patient dad who read poetry and would explain what things like trundle beds were. And then when his little kids grew up, they liked poetry. So, it was a good deal. I'm very thankful for that. The British actress from Dennis the Menace reading that. I've never seen that movie. I mean, I read the comic as a kid, but I never have seen the movie. But yeah, that's a great one. It's very nostalgic. Reminds me of my dad. Okay, what was the other one? Neruda, Night on the Island. Let's see if we can pull that up. Okay. Okay. Here is Night on the Island by Pablo Neruda. All night I have slept with you next to the sea on the island. Wild and sweet you were between pleasure and sleep, between fire and water. Perhaps very late our dreams joined at the top or at the bottom, up above like branches moved by a common wind, down below like red roots that touch. Perhaps your dream drifted from mine, and through the dark sea was seeking me as before, when you did not yet exist, when without sighting you I sailed by your side, and your eyes sought what now bread, love, wine, and anger I heap upon you because you are the cup that was waiting for the gifts of my life. I have slept with you all night long while the dark earth spins, the living and the dead, and on waking suddenly, in the midst of the shadow, my arm encircled your waist. Neither night nor sleep could separate us. I have slept with you, and on waking your mouth come from your dream gave me a taste of earth, of seawater, of seaweed, of the depths of your life, and I received a kiss moistened by the dawn, as if it came to me from the sea that surrounds us. This is one of those websites that has like an ad between every few stanzas, so that's why I was the awkward pauses. My bad. And then it went straight into the Spanish original text. So I think we did. I think we made it. I think we made it to the end. You bet. You bet. Um, Thanks, Justine. I appreciate that. So here's another one by Walt Whitman called Thought from Leaves of Grass. As I sit with others at a great feast, suddenly while the music is playing to my mind, whence it comes I know not, spectral in mist of a wreck at sea, of certain ships, how they sail from port with flying streamers and wafted kisses, and that is the last of them. of the solemn and murky mystery about the fate of the president, of the flower of the marine science of 50 generations foundered off the northeast coast and going down, of the steamship Arctic going down, of the veiled tableau, women gathered together on deck, pale, heroic, waiting the moment that draws so close. Oh, the moment. A huge sob, a few bubbles, the white foam spiriting up, and then the women gone, sinking there while the passionless wet flows on, and I now pondering, are those women indeed gone? Are souls drowned and destroyed so? Is only matter triumphant? Thought, Walt Whitman. Thank you, Christina. And yeah, a lot of his stuff is. It's like, whoa, what? There's a lot more to that. You could, you know, study that for a while. Here's when you were old. That's a great one. I'll do that one in just a second. This one is really short, but here's another one from Leaves of Grass. What am I after all? Walt Whitman. What am I after all but a child, pleased with the sound of my own name, repeating it over and over? I stand apart to hear. It never tires me. To you, your name also. Do you think there was nothing but 2 or 3 pronunciations in the sound of your name? What am I after all? Okay, when you are old. Actually, where, I had my William Butler Yeats book somewhere. Oh well. Yeah, I love poetry that I can read at once and know exactly what everything he or she is saying. I love it. I also like poetry that I read at once and I'm like, what is going on here? And I got to read it again. I like them both. All right. When you are old. When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. When you are old and gray and full of sleep and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes once had and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace and loved your beauty with love false or true. But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. Yeah, Christina, same here. Like Frost is like that. He's kind of in the middle. Like you read it and you think you know what he's saying, and then you read it again, like, oh, there's a little more to it than I had first thought. And he's one of those ones you can kind of grow into. Mariah, absolutely. So great. Great one. how about little Mary Oliver? Owls and Other Fantasies, Poems and Essays. This is one of my favorites. Somebody sent me this when I was in Iraq, and that was when I first started getting into poetry. It was 2009. It's just because, you know, it was not in it was not a nice place. I was not in nice surroundings, and so poetry was a great escape for me, and I've loved it. I've loved it for that reason ever since. So now, even though my life is way better and I don't need an escape per se, I love it for the fact that it gave me an escape when I needed it, and that's why I love poetry. Okay, the Swan. Across the wide waters, something comes floating, a slim and delicate ship filled with white flowers, and it moves on its miraculous muscles as though time didn't exist, as though bringing such gifts to the dry shore was a happiness almost beyond bearing. And now it turns its dark eyes. It rearranges the clouds of its wings. It trails an elaborate webbed foot the color of charcoal. Soon it will be here. Oh, what shall I do when that poppy-colored beak rests in my hand? Said Mrs. Blake of the poet. I miss my husband's company. He is so often in paradise. Of course, the path to heaven doesn't lie down in flat miles. It's in the imagination with which you perceive this world, and the gestures with which you honor it. Oh, what will I do? What will I say when those white wings touch the shore? The Swan, Mary Oliver. All right, here's a different kind of bird. Mariah, have a wonderful evening. Good night. Thanks for coming by. Here's one called The Hawk. This morning, the hawk rose up out of the meadow's brows and swung over the lake. It settled on the small black dome of a dead pine, alert as an admiral, its profile distinguished with sideburns the color of smoke. And I said, remember, this is not something of the red fire. This is heaven's fistful of death and destruction. And the hawk hooked one exquisite foot onto a last twig to look deeper into the yellow reeds along the edges of the water. And I said, remember the tree, the cave, the white lily of resurrection. And that's when it simply lifted its golden feet and floated into the wind, belly first. And then it cruised along the lake, all the time its eyes fastened harder than love on some unimportant rustling in the yellow reeds. And then it seemed to crouch high in the air, and then it turned into a white blade which fell. So good at describing things. Probably do one or two more and then probably call it a night. Let's see. There was one called September, I think, that I really liked. Read this one with June with the hawk. Well, it is the kingfisher. Jill, same to you. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening. Kristen, what's going on? How's it going? Are you done with your movie shoot? Okay, so here is The Kingfisher by Mary Oliver. The kingfisher rises out of the black wave like a blue flower. In his beak, he carries a silver leaf. I think this is the prettiest world, so long as you don't mind a little dying. How could there be a day in your whole life that doesn't have its splash of happiness? There are more fish than there are leaves on 1,000 trees. And anyway, the kingfisher wasn't born to think about it or anything else. When the waves snap shut over his blue head, the water remains water. Hunger is the only story he has ever heard in his life that he could believe. I don't say he's right, neither do I say he's wrong. Religiously, he swallows the silver leaf with its broken red river, and with a rough and easy cry I couldn't rouse out of my thoughtful body if my life depended on it, he swings back over the bright sea to do the same thing, to do it, as long as I long to do something, anything, perfectly. Love that one. Love Mary Oliver. She's great. And I was always a little kid sitting on the ridge out back with his binoculars and his Autobahn books and his notebook to write down what I'd seen. So I like that kind of stuff. Wrapped it Sunday. Super cool. That is awesome. That is awesome. I hope that you will keep us, I mean, I know production takes a long time and stuff, but I would love to see the work that you did whenever it comes out. When it does, I'm assuming it'll be on a festival tour and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, Justine, isn't that great? I'm so glad. Like somebody sent this to me out of the blue because when I was in Iraq, it was a lot of people sent stuff to me. Like teachers would send me stuff, and all these little kids would have written letters and be like, "Thank you for you know fighting for us," and they were just so sweet. And I got cookies and stuff. It was wonderful. And somebody sent me this, you know, Owls and Other Fantasies, Poems and Essays. And it was just wonderful. It was a great escape. And I love Mary and I love poetry in general for that. Screening. Oh, nice. Well, that's actually pretty fast, actually. Um, yeah. Yeah. Post your screening stuff and like wherever, if it does the festival tour or whatever. I'm definitely interested. I love period pieces, and then if I know someone in it, it's even better. But yeah, y'all, Kristen is an actor. I don't know. Everybody's different, um, but she was just in a movie this past week. Um, Sort of historical. Wasn't it historical, like a drama or something? I don't know. That's what it looked like, Civil War-ish. Um, You got to see Mary speak and read it. That's so cool. That's wonderful. That would have been a great experience. I, I I would have loved to hear her. Yeah, Arispide, wasn't that a good one? I love that. Western and Civil War 18. Okay, very nice. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that time period. Actor, okay, cool. Because I've said, you know, like, oh, she's an actress. Like, I am not an actress. I'm an actor. Oh, sorry. All right, whatever. I'm not trying to be rude here. I just thought that's what it was called. So, anywho, Whatever. Okay. Fair enough. That's how I like to roll. Just sort of like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So, yeah. Well, I think unless somebody has something super pressing, I think I'm gonna get rolling here. I've got a little bit of recording to do. Um, at the moment, I don't. I have in the past, and I get the vast majority of my work just being kind of mercenary. So I get it from freelance sites. I get it from word of mouth. I get it from everywhere, and so yeah, I'm definitely. I'll definitely try to, if I find a voice agent that's a good fit, I'll send them an email or something, send them some demos. But yeah, right now I'm not working with anybody. Uh, I am working on. There's a couple of short f- stories that I'm working on for my YouTube channel. I've really been trying to grow my YouTube, and it's been growing slowly but surely the last few weeks since I've decided to do that. So I'm putting all my stuff that I've recorded over the last few years up there, and and a lot of people have asked, like, you should do spicy stuff, and I don't really do spicy stuff. What I do, I like poetry with innuendo, but I don't like spicy stuff. However, this week I just recorded Song of Solomon from the Bible, and oh, Kristen, thank you, I appreciate that, and that's spicy. That's very spicy, and so I had fun. It was fun doing it. Um, the So I just did Song of Solomon. I posted that. I'm about to do another Jack London, the Love of Life, a short story called Love of Life, and then someone had requested Horatius at the Bridge, or about, from Roman times, like a poem about the Romans. So I'm gonna be working on that, and yeah, but I know it's so yeah, and also I think anybody that all of my friends that are represented, they all say, like, there's no one agent that's gonna, like, that's gonna keep you busy, you know what I mean? And, so, I mean, I've had agents in the past, and it was like, "You're not doing anything," so there's no reason to be working together. But, so, yeah, I think even if you do have an agent, you still have to be very mercenary, you still have to do your own marketing, that kinda thing, and, yeah. Justine, absolutely, absolutely. And yes, I like Neruda as well because he has, like, you kinda know what he's talking about, but he's not, it's not like, "Gracious, brother," like, you don't have to I like his poetic innuendo, you might say. I think that's a good I like that. Yeah, I think you need to, I mean, and that's the same, let's say an author. If you're an author, if you wrote a book, you can't just say, "Oh, my publicist is gonna get it out there." No, you have to post on social media. You have to do book signings and travel, and you have to do a lot of work to post your book. You gotta, even if you're a celebrity, you have to go on Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert to to talk about your book. That's, and that's if you're a celebrity. So if you're not a celebrity, it's that much more. Yeah, nobody's going to do it for you. You got to do it yourself, and that's totally fine with me. um, So yeah, if you like classic literature, please do subscribe to my YouTube or podcast, or both if you're into that kind of thing. And if you like Jane Austen in a Southern accent, you gotta keep up with me on YouTube because I'm actually recording it, and then when I'm recording it like at a chapter at a time, and posting it as a live, which it's fun. I like doing it. And then when it's done, I'll make it into an audiobook and post the whole thing on YouTube. and maybe like Audible or something. So, and then I'll move on to the next book. So, yeah, Jane, like Pride and Prejudice and Magnolias, so to speak. So, like a Pride and Prejudice with a heavy Southern accent, and it's fun. It's kind of like this actually fits. I did it as a joke on TikTok, just sort of messing around one day, and and it's and like it works. It's really cool, I think, and a lot of other people have liked it as well. So I thought, you know what, that's a classic book. I love Jane Austen. I've read 5 of her novels. I haven't read Northanger Abbey, but I've read the other 5. And yeah, honestly, anything with a southern I think you're right. Within reason. I think there are some southern accents that really are off-putting. But like the classic the educated southern accents are very like they're comforting. It's like it makes you like Morgan Freeman is from like 2 hours down the road. Like he's a Mississippi man. And even though he doesn't have a heavy southern accent like your stereotypical southern accent, he has a lot of the markings of a southern accent. And it's um it's very much um it's very comforting. Like everything is going to be um it's going to be okay. Brain. So, well, you know, how are we to know? You know what I mean? Don't short yourself. You might sound like Foghorn Leghorn himself, which to me is the greatest Southern accent. That boy is as cold as a nudist on an iceberg. um, you've done that. Don't diminish your. Well, I appreciate that. I definitely I work very hard, but also you know I know I sound like a sick kid. Oh, I bet you don't. I bet you sound just fine. So anyway, well, I think I am off to I'm not off to bed. I'm off to recording. I'm actually going to be on YouTube, and I'm going to record mine. I think chapter 6 of Pride and Prejudice. Um, while I'm thinking about it. So yeah, I'm off to YouTube to record the next segment, and I will talk to you all very soon. For the future, Mondays and Thursdays for the foreseeable. I'm gonna try to make sure that I do it Mondays and Thursdays. I've already read Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. It's on YouTube. Whole thing. It's like 28 minutes or something. My reading was. But yeah, you can definitely find it on my link in the bio on YouTube. You bet. You bet. Yeah, that's a great one. Um, so, yep. Y'all have a great night, and I will talk to you all later. Hmm. All right. Well, have a good night. I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna go do my Jane Austen now. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. So I'll talk to you later.